And at this time, the Prophet is being revealed Surah Fatah on the camel, on the way back to Medina. So Surah Fatah is revealed where Allah says this is the most clear of all the victories, even though it does not look like a clear victory at all. It looks like you've lost everything and it's a biased treaty. But Allah says this is the most clear of all victories. So you need to understand. I'm not going to do Surah Fatah today. I'm going to go on with the other characters that we had in the Seerah, which I have not covered. For example, Umm Salamah radiallahu anha. I felt bad that I had not covered the one, our mother. We did not cover Umm Salamah at all. So I'm going to talk about her a little bit. But Allah is saying this is the Fatah Mubina. This is the most manifest of all the victories because now you are your own power. Now you can negotiate with the Roman Empire. You can negotiate with the Iranian Empire. You are your own people. And you don't have to worry about Makkah attacking you anymore. There's a peace treaty. You know, in Palestine right now, I was watching an interview of an ex-IDF officer. And he's a good man, one of the very good people, right? And he's telling about his training and he's saying, we were specifically told to go in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. and wake them up. And the instructions are, if they do any kind of resistance, if they try to attack you or anything, you can arrest them. And he says, on paper, it looks like they're working in the law. But he says, what nobody tells you is, if you ever wake up anybody in the world at 2 a.m., what do you think his reaction is going to be? He's going to be like, oh my God, finished. That's enough. That's grounds for taking him. Can you imagine living a life for the last 75 years where you don't know if your kids are going to be awakened? You don't know if you're going to be awakened. You don't know what's going to happen, who's going to take care of once you are in jail. And the Palestinians are living this life every day like Abu Jantal. Can you imagine this for 75 years? And Allah is saying, no longer do you have to worry that all of a sudden they're coming to Makkah to attack, or Medina to attack. No longer they have to come to Badr, no longer nothing. You are living your own life. Last month I saw this video where you guys have been in the Middle East. You've seen their cameras for traffic violations. You've seen that, right? You're familiar with what I'm talking about. In Edmonton also we have a couple, but if you've been to Dubai, it's everywhere. Like every street corner we have a camera, 60 miles an hour over or 60 kilometers an hour, and you got a ticket for like $200 or something, right? People pay that like they're paying for electricity bills, right? There's a street in Hebron, in Palestine. It's called Shuhada Street, aptly named Shuhada Street. They have installed, just like a camera, an automatic firing machine. Automatic. It has sensors. If it senses you moving anywhere in the wrong direction, bam. Because there's too much work to pay money now to an IDF officer. He has more important things to do. Let's just put a camera with a machine gun. Somebody moves, kill him. Who cares? It's happening right now. It's just recently installed. Automation, if you're scared of automation, it's here. Every day, kids of this age are walking to school through that. Every day, think of these mothers and their fathers. My kid is going to school, going outside. I have to go outside. I don't know if I'm going to come back. I might die anytime. Shuhada Street. It is literally, I cannot believe this on video. It's like, yeah, it's modern technology. They're testing it out there. A'udhu billah. But because it is there, nobody cares. And the people who live there, they said, oh yeah, we have seen so many people die. So many. They're not surprised about it. The stuff I'm saying for you is going to be like shocking. You can't eat food after this. They're like, oh yeah, we've seen so many of the people shuhada. So many of them have been shaheed. Kids, women, men, everybody. Something that people don't even think about now. You know how we are all praying with socks and sometimes barefooted? Do you know how the Prophet prayed and the Sahaba prayed all their life? Socks? Yeah, barefoot? No. Look it up now. It is shocking that we don't even know this. Saddening. Shoes. This, according to Sheikh Nasiruddin Albani, the greatest muhaddis of our era who has passed away, may Allah give him Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la. He said, every masjid is doing bid'ah by not wearing shoes. They should be, just like we have shoes for wudu, right? Wudu specific, we should have disposable shoes here, prayer specific. Now, you know why you don't know this? Because I'll tell you, just like the segregation of girls and men in our culture, in the Arab culture, shoes are looked down upon. Just like women are looked down upon in India, Pakistan. Astaghfirullah. A'udhu billah. I'm sorry, I'm trying to explain this because this is the urf there. In the Arab culture, shoes are looked down upon. So let's just ignore that. Now, no masjid is having shoes. So now they have the excuse of carpet. Well, you know, I have my own shoes in my house for there's a prayer mat, janamaz, and there's shoes. inside the house shoes. You always wear that before you pray. There was only once in the entire lifetime of the Prophet when the Sahaba took off their shoes. What happened was the Rasul was standing for Salah. And of course, when the Imam is about to stand, he's not turning back now, he's done, right? He was wearing shoes, the Prophet Muhammad. Then, just before he was about to go for takbir, he took off his shoes and put them on the side. What do you think the Sahaba will do? Okay, let's just take off. Everybody took off the shoes. So shoes. Like if you go to Medina Masjid today, shoes outside, right? Shoes outside everywhere. And everybody is praying. After Salah is over, the Prophet turns. That's the Sunnah. The Imam is turning and looking at everybody. And he sees shoes everywhere. He says, what are you guys doing? The Prophet is saying this, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, Ya Rasulullah, we saw you take off your shoes, so we took off our shoes. He says, I took off my shoe because there was something najis on it. I can't pray with najis, of course. And it's time for Salah, everybody's waiting, so he had to pray. So I took it off because I had something najis. And so everybody put their shoes back on, and never did anybody ever pray without shoes. Shaykh Nasiruddin Albani, he says, bid'ah. Even in masjid, he's saying, now the excuse that most scholars give is, yes, we had shoes at that time because it was sand and everything, but now you don't need it because you have a carpet. But do you know who prays like without shoes, specifically for prayer, take off their shoes? You know who does that? The Yahud, the Jews. We now pray like the Jews. You understand?
But like, how do we tell if there is not just on the shoes or not, like nowadays? Because you're walking with the same shoes. Like
okay, so najis is when you're walking, this dust and everything is not najis.
okay.
So this idea that I'm walking, it might be najis. When it is might be, it's always halal. Food is served to you. Okay, and you're in a, let's say, in Muslim country. And some guy says this is not halal. The guy who's saying it is not halal has to give the proof. It is halal until proven haram. It is not haram until proven halal. Many Muslims will be like, I need to find out the factory where it was made. I need to find out, show me the video. Until then, I will not eat. This is wrong. It is halal until somebody can show me, look, pork fat. Until then, it's halal. Similarly, everything is clean.
If it's marketed as law.
Okay, then it's of course halal. But I'm saying,
Like, we do this most of the time when we know that it's law, and then we try to inquire about it, like where did you buy your meat, where did you
no, I'm not talking like here, where it is completely certified. I'm saying, let's say you're in Pakistan, in a Hindu area, Balochistan or something. Okay, and there's a Muslim guy with a beard and everything. You're not going to say, hey, give me the kalma. Do you believe Ali is Ali, and Hassan Hussein? You're not going to ask this, right? But for this, you should be more careful in such a place. Because if he's saying in the name of Ali, it is shirk. Right? But nobody who's wearing a shalwar qameez, you're going to be questioning. But here they'll be questioning. It's completely, the priorities are mismanaged completely, wallahi. So anyway, the point I'm making is, people did not know this, and this is common knowledge in our religion. But we are praying like the Jews. Standing up for somebody, for respect, completely haram. For respect, you stand for someone above you, like your father, like grandparent, not allowed. You can stand for your son, because you're not doing for respect, you're doing for love. And the Prophet also used to stand up for Fatima, but never. Once the Sahaba all stood up when the Prophet walked in. He says, what are you doing? You almost just imitated the Jews. That's what you just did. The Prophet is saying this. You're just imitating the Jews. That's what you just did. You're standing up for me. And then he says, anyone who likes other people standing up for himself, let him get ready to sit in the fire of hell. This is a hadith for the one who likes other people stand up. Because you feel something when people stand up for you, right? Everybody's standing up. You feel like you are something, right? A'udhu billah. And the Prophet said, anyone who likes others stand for him, let him get ready to sit in the fire of hell. May Allah protect us and may Allah protect me. So we should not even have this.
I heard, like, I don't know the source, but in Pakistan, they say, and we believe somehow, that if women will, like the men, when they pray in the masjid, they get more reward. But for the woman, if they pray at
Yes.
the home, like in the house,
Yes.
in the bedroom, then they get more reward.
It's a good thing you asked me this question.
Because I always ask them, like, pray at home, because like you'll get more reward. Why do you
Okay.
come to masjid?
Okay, you know, the people who said this, I'll come to this. This is true. The people who say this, when they come to Makkah, Medina, they'll forget this hadith.
Yeah, because
Oh, why? What happened?
it's a great mosque.
No, but you just told me house, hotel. Where's the 5-star hotel book there, right? Al Qura Hotel or Burj, what's the name of that? Abraj al Bayt? Oh, pray in Abraj al Bayt. no, for the girl. No, I'm not. I'm being sarcastic. I'm being sarcastic. So, let me tell you what actually happened. Our religion is, again, this is all fiqh stuff. The reason why in the subcontinent you only hear this hadith and you ignore, people ignore 100 of the hadiths about, I just told you, about the walking to the mosque. The reason why you only hear this is because this is the one hadith they can use to push the woman down. Okay? I'll give you Bukhari hadith. And I'll come to this. It's very important that you've asked this. People should know this. But I'll come to this. Bukhari hadith. Do not prevent the female servant of Allah from entering the mosque. This is Bukhari hadith. Okay. And separate second hadith. Do not prevent the female servant of Allah from entering the mosque even at night. Separate hadith. Why did the Prophet have to do these two separate hadiths? In one, he could have just covered it all, right? Because he knew there'll be husbands who will say, oh, I'm not stopping her because I have any problem. No, I'm fine. But we are living in a society where nighttime is not this and dangerous and security and this. And hence, I'm going to stop her because of the night. And the Prophet knows the husbands will do this, or fathers might do this, or brothers might do this. He's saying, do not stop the female servant of Allah from entering the mosque even at night. Even at night. If you know that there's such a blessing for masjid, and you know that for Makkah, Medina, and you know the female's not allowed to stop, and I just told you about the two women who say, Ya Rasulullah, when we come, we don't know if it's najis. All of this, all of a sudden you know about this one hadith where the Prophet said to a lady, he did say to a lady, that for you, praying in your house is better than coming here. And in your house is better to pray in your bedroom. And in that bedroom is better for you to pray in the corner of that bedroom, the most private. So you just have to find out now, and all the fuqaha will do this, they'll easily tell you. How is it that on one hand, do this and do that and come to masjid and do not prevent the free servant, and for someone else, pray inside the house? The guy who was married to this particular sahabiyya, some husbands, they don't like their wife even speaking, let alone going somewhere. Oh, no doubt. And they have to answer to Allah. I'm talking about, I'm trying to explain this hadith that he said. It's amazing that you know this one hadith and everything else I asked you, right? Because that's brainwashing. Yeah. The reason why you knew that is because this particular man, he used to be so difficult with his wife. Okay, that's fine, it's a prerogative. So when she is coming, and she loves to come to see the Rasulullah, why do you think she's coming to the masjid besides prayer? I get to see the Rasulullah, I get to hear the Rasulullah. Can you imagine the qira'ah of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And so she's coming and she says, Rasulullah, my husband, this is what he does. Now, for you, the girl, and I will say this today to a girl who comes, let's say she says, my husband says, coming all the way here in the cold and everything, he's angry. If I go home, half an hour of fights. I'll say for you, staying inside his bedroom is the highest reward. Because you have to please your husband. But for her, not for everybody the wife is going outside to every single requirement. Like the husband literally says, go and get me this and go and get me that and throw out the trash and get the groceries and everything. But the hadith says this for the prayer, so I won't do this. Is complete jahala. It's jahala. Wallahi, it's jahala. I will give you just today. I was going to talk about Umm Salamah. The wives of the Rasulullah are not the same. You know about the battle of Jamal that happened. When the Aisha went out there, Umm Salamah wrote a letter to her, do not do this. Zainab bint Jahash decided to be completely inside the quarters. But there were some who were more extroverted. The wives of the Rasulullah were not. And the highest level of hijab that is there for any lady on the planet was for our mothers. Not, in the Quran when it says you have to do hijab, what we call hijab is actually khimar in the Quran. What we call hijab is actually khimar. But when Allah says the women have to wear hijab, the believing women and the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, they have to wear hijab. It is an actual curtain. It's an actual partition, actual barrier around our mothers. With the strictest of the strict hijab requirements of these 11 great ladies, our mothers, even they would communicate with the Sahaba who are non-mahram, behind the barrier. And even for the communication, Allah said, when the Prophet said, if somebody is coming up to you and asking you a question, speak in a harsh manner. Don't speak like a soft, beautiful manner that is going to mellow him down. Speak in a harsh. Why is he not saying, don't speak? Zarurat kya hai? Why is he not doing this? Because you have to. This is how you communicate. The Tabi'i, Urwa. Most of our hadiths have come from Urwa. He was the Tabi'i. He was the son of Asma bint Abi Bakr, the sister of Aisha the Anha. So the son is Abdullah ibn Zubayr and his brother is Urwa. Abdullah ibn Zubayr is a Sahabi. But Urwa ibn Zubayr is Tabi'i, born much later. He says, my mother, Aisha the Anha, because she's the Khala, I'm not surprised that you know so much about our deen because you were the wife of the Rasulullah. I'm not surprised you know so much about fiqh. But you know what is surprising for me? How do you know so much about science? How are you such a good doctor? Because she used to literally give prescriptions, no joke, to the people who are coming in. I have a headache, I have this. He said, okay, do this, do that. He said, how are you so good as a doctor? She says, oh, that's because when the Rasulullah used to be there, the delegates used to come from the Roman Empire, the Christian Roman Empire. The delegates used to come from the Roman Empire and they would bring their knowledge of medicine. And so I learned, listened to all of the stuff, and so I learned it. Where is the education being deprived here? This is not a part of the religion, right? Any scholar who says, oh, because of the deen, she was explaining. Well, what does the medicine now have to do with the deen? So a girl says, I want to be a doctor. Oh no, you don't need to be a doctor. That person is jahil. Because this girl wants to follow the sunnah of Aisha radhiyallahu anha. So unfortunately and by the way, this is a very new thing. I just told you in Uzbekistan, we have a masjid where acoustic engineering has achieved the voice going all the way to the 12,000 strong masjid. Can you imagine today in Pakistan, they're literally in India, they'll be like, why are you making a women's section? A'udhu billah. That's bid'ah, not to make a women's section. You know what happens when you do this? You'll have the other extreme. Now women will demand women only masjid and a women imam. In California, you have this. There's a woman only masjid and the girl is the imam and there are literally some men praying behind. Yes, in California. But of course, these are extremes funded by who. But they're like, oh, this is good. Let's just fund these guys and let them make a mosque. But if somebody wants to make a real mosque, no, we're going to be an impediment. But if you have this kind of bid'ah, oh, this is fantastic, let's ruin the religion. So of course you'll have funding. But what I'm saying is, this is what happens when you deprive the halal, they'll go for the haram. The Prophet said this, make nikah easy or else zina is going to be the norm. And you can see the societies where nikah has been made hard, zina has become normal. But people are not going to stop doing what they want to do. But you're going to either choose halal or haram. You can go on. Umm Salamah radiallahu anha right here. Let's just talk about her. Because the reason why we're talking about Umm Salamah radiallahu anha is because at Hudaybiyah, when the Prophet said, shave and let's leave, they could not do Umrah. They had to go back. And Umrah is stunned. Everybody's stunned. They had to go back. And the Prophet went to Umm Salamah radiallahu anha and said, I just asked everybody to leave, but nobody's leaving. Never has this happened that the Prophet is asking you to do something and they don't leave. So she said, do you want them to follow you, Ya Rasulullah? He says, yes. He says, then why don't you shave your head and then you see how they follow you. They'll all shave once you start. And so he called for his barber and he shaved. And so every Sahabi became each other's barber and they shaved each other. And by the way, it is at this point the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that may Allah forgive the sins of the one who shaves after Umrah. And another Sahabi was sitting there, he says, and also the one who trims, Ya Rasulullah. The Prophet hears this, but then the Prophet says again, may Allah forgive the one who shaves. He says, and also the one who trims, Ya Rasulullah. May Allah forgive the one who shaves. And also the one who trims, Ya Rasulullah. So the Prophet looks at him and says, and also the one who trims. So remember, your mother, your father, same thing for shaving, and then trimming. So if you go for Umrah, please man, let's, the difference between shaving and trimming is like your mom and dad. You understand, right? Like, let's just shave. We shave, the hair will come back in like a couple of days, couple of weeks. Way more rewarding than trimming. But trimming also, inshallah, may Allah forgive you, because the Prophet did add that. But look at this difference. That happened here. Now they're going back, Surah Fatah is revealed. I was talking about this. So I'll talk about Umm Salamah because we just talked about her. She was the lady of wisdom, balanced. So Aisha anha. So just so you know, we don't even know how many wives the Prophet Muhammad had, which I know is going to be a new thing for you. Commonly they say 11 wives, right? But actually he had more. And he also had al-Yameen. And this is the stuff we normally don't discuss, but this is normal information. Like you can just read any of the Seerah books, you know that he had more. You understand? But the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen are our mothers who he did nikah with. There are other ways to be with the women besides nikah. Please, I hope you guys know this. Is there anyone who did not know this? Raise hands. Okay, we'll do a very brief, because this is a longer topic. We'll do a very brief one. It is important that you should know this. Nikah is the default method of being with a girl. You can have 4 max. Besides nikah, there's something called al-Yameen, what your right hand possesses. Have you heard of this term, right hand possession? Right hand possession, okay. What happens is, if you are in a state of war, let's say you're Muslim, not Pakistan, not Bangladesh, not India, we're not talking about Muslim country, we're talking about Islamic countries. Big difference. Not Saudi, okay? If there's an Islamic country, ruled by Islam, another country decides to attack. They literally openly do paganism. and they attack you because you're praying to one Allah, just for this, attacking you for being a Muslim. You tell them, don't attack us, because we will attack you, we will kill you, and whoever is left here is going to have to be ransomed off. That's the way Islamic system works. So in Badr, Suhail ibn Amr, this man was negotiating, they negotiated for him to come back, and they have to pay money. And more important the person, the more money you can charge. So for him to take back, you have to pay money. That's how it works. And so Islamically, what happens is, Khalid bin Walid, when he was I'll tell you the story because you should know about negotiation and ransom. Khalid bin Walid, we all know, he was the last convert before the last hijrah. He's the last one to do hijrah. His older brother is Walid ibn al-Walid. You remember the Walid ibn al-Mughira we were talking about? His son is Walid ibn al-Walid and Khalid ibn al-Walid. Walid ibn al-Walid is a Muslim way before Khalid ibn al-Walid. He's actually a higher maqam and we don't even know his name. Khalid ibn al-Walid, everybody knows. But actually all the stuff Khalid ibn al-Walid has done is going in the mizan of Walid ibn al-Walid as well. Walid ibn al-Walid made Khalid ibn al-Walid Muslim. How? Walid ibn Walid is captured in the battle of Badr. He was on the wrong side. He's captured. Now what happens Islamically? When you capture, you're a prisoner. He's being housed. He sees the life, the way Muslims are treating the prisoners. The way we are supposed to treat prisoner of war is the food we eat is the food he eats. The clothes we wear is the clothes he wears. Can you imagine? Any prison here system in the world that's going to give the food you're eating? Security guard is eating the food you're eating? In Arizona, which is where I studied, they literally, you know what the food they give? Nutraloaf. Google what that is. It is a tasteless, soup-like food. And it literally comes through a hose like a bar. And they put it in the tray, eat this. And the purpose of them giving Nutraloaf is you get all the nutrition you need to live. But there should be no taste. Like, it is the closest to violation of Geneva Convention, basically. You know, you just park the car right at the end. If you do a little less nutrition, then finish, they're violating. So just enough to not violate the Geneva Convention, not to violate any law, but no more than that. You know what they do for vegetables? Okay, we have to give vegetables, right? Because it's one of the things in the law, we have to give vegetables to these prisoners. Okay, they put ketchup. Because ketchup comes from tomatoes, and tomato is a vegetable, that's your vegetable. Now you're thinking, how can they get away with this? You know why? Because over the last decade, America has been privatizing their prisons. Privatizing them. What happens when you make something private? He wants to make money. So what the heck is this? When the government was running, okay, you can have food, whatever, bread, whatever. Now, I need to make money. So if I can save 20 cents from each prisoner per day, per meal, multiplied by 365 days a year, I make these many million at the end of the year. Forget these people. Who cares about their food? This is the whole world today, 2022. America is literally the pioneer in this privatization of prisons. May Allah protect Canada from this. And you must be thinking, oh, these are prisoners, they are violent offenders, so of course they deserve it. Yes, these guys, the Sahaba, who are going to become Sahaba, they were coming to attack the Rasulullah. Is there a crime worse than this? And that's how you're supposed to treat. Okay, these people in the United States, 86%, like almost all, 86% of them are non-violent offenders. They check bounced. They had a credit card debt. The bank called for them. These kinds of offenses. Now he's eating Nutraloaf and he's going to take care of his wife and his kids. Islam says you steal, your hand is chopped off. But how is it that, oh, you steal? Okay, now get it inside a jail cell for 10 years and make clothes for me. By the way, they don't get to just sit there and lie down. You need to work. Now United Nations says finally, after all of the hue and cry, finally has passed a bill that you can be doing this. All these cheap shirts and shoes that you're seeing, China had for-profit prisons. And you have all of these people forced work. Wake up 6 o'clock in the morning, go to sleep in the night at 9 o'clock, and you're working, making. So the t-shirt companies, these Pierre Cardin and all of these companies, they were found that they were using this prison labor. And they're sewing all of this. They get 6 cents. 6 cents an hour. You want to make a phone call to your family? $5 a minute. How many hours do you need to work to make a phone call to your family? It used to be free. I can see my son whenever I want to. This is for-profit prison. Now you compare against what Sharia says. You think Sharia is scary? The guy, a girl who did not want to marry a guy. The guy throws acid on her face, right? This is what happens all the time in the countries like India. What is the punishment for this? She cannot find a guy anymore. She can give her $10,000. What's that going to do to her? Nothing. Give her $1 million. What's that going to do? The punishment is he should have been given the same punishment because now he can't suffer. If somebody loses a hand, you break his hand out of anger, he should also lose a hand because I can no longer type with 2 hands. I can no longer use this hand. The right punishment is you should also lose the hand so that you are no longer able to do it. How is it going to help that I put this guy in jail and the people are still suffering? Anyway, this is a long talk. For-profit prisons and everything. The way the prisoners are treated, if you know, in 2022, forget the last centuries, Islamic system cannot compare the way they treat. Now, imagine a country attacking Muslims, 5,000 men, let's just say 5,000 men, Muslims, let's say, in our times. Our time, we don't have Islamic Khilafah, so this doesn't exist, Milk al-Yameen, only Nikah exists. I'm telling you what Milk al-Yameen is. 5,000 men attack. Let's say they bring women. We tell them, don't bring women, because civilians are not to be touched. But they choose to bring women on their own. Now what do you do? That's their decision. So they bring, let's say, 5,000 women, their mates. The men have died. Let's say 4,500 men have died, 500 prisoners. What about these 4,500 women? Who's going to take care of them? You know what happened right now with Ukraine? This is shocker. Read The Guardian. In Ukraine, when they have this bombing going on, the men are dying. Of course the men are dying because they're not allowed to leave. The women are leaving. They're going to UK and different countries. UK took them, told their men, take care of them, please. Which guy in UK wants to take care of an outsider? I can't take care of my wife. You want me to take care of another girl? I'm not taking care. So now the UK government says, okay, we'll give you £700, like $1,200, for you to take care of her. Just like neutral loaf. They will give the minimum most food, just to enough for to pay the rent, sleep, and shut it. Nobody is applying except for the people who can just completely starve these Ukrainian women, right? Guess when they said, you can take women, guess who applied after that? It was a plethora of applications. Guess who applied? 92% of the applications came from single bachelors living in their basement. What do you think they want from these women? This is what Islam has said, that you will be exploited. The moment the men are dead, the women are going to be taken for exploitation. And so Islamically, what happens is you tell the men, you better not bring the women because we can't touch them. They bring them anyway. Now they die. Islamically, this is the family, this is the women and the people who were literally trying to kill us. And now our religion is saying, take care of them like they're your sisters, they're your brothers, they're your wives. Like literally 180 degrees. The only way we can acquire a milk al-Yameen, a right-hand possession, is if we are in a legitimate jihad, legitimate battle against kuffars who are attacking us just for being us practicing Muslims, and their men have died, and then you tell that nation, we have 500 women or 4,500 women, you can take them back, and nobody wants them. Their own country does not want them. Now what do these women do? These are now the women that you have to take care. Okay, now you will say, why should I take care? And you're right. You're making X amount of money, you make X amount of money. I say, you take care of 20, you take care of 5. Like, why would I take care? I can't take care of 1. And so Allah has made this like a system of nikah, but it's not nikah. It is milk al-Yameen. You are in charge of taking care of her. Now, this lady obviously will not get the rights of what a wife gets. Because a wife, she gets whatever she wants. Basically, a girl is entitled to ask you for the money. The money you make is her money as well, but the money she makes is not yours at all. The girl, the money she's making, she can spend it on Gucci, Prada, whatever she wants Islamically. But the money you make, she can say, I need it for the expense of the house or whatever. And you get to decide how much to spend, so long as she gets lodging, boarding, clothing. But if she says, let's say she makes more than you now, none of your business. You pay the rent that you can pay and say, this is what I can afford. If you have extra money you spend for yourself, for your mom, your dad, not my problem. I have nothing to do with your finances. This is Islamic system. And here, why do the women here, they fight for alimony? It's like, hey, I pay for the house too. I need 50%. Of course she needs 50%. The poor girl, she spent 50% of her life on the money. Of course she deserves it. It is not wrong for her to demand this money. But Islamically, she doesn't have to pay anything. That's why we don't have alimony. She doesn't have to pay for anything. She is completely secure. At the time of marriage, she gets a mahar. After marriage, every month she's supposed to get an allowance. The allowance is like for rent, utilities, whatever you paid for is done. Now, whatever you want to spend extra on yourself, let's say cell phone or laptop or game or whatever money you spend also that on your wife. If you can't afford more than $100, then give her $100. You can afford 1,000 for yourself, personal disposable expense, give her $1,000. This is the right of a wife. Milk al-Yameen, you don't have to do this. So long as you give her everything that you're eating, you can give her. The food you're eating, the clothes you're wearing, you can give her, that's it. She can't just come and say, I need an iPhone. Because I'm barely able to take care of you, right? That is the difference in the rights. But the moment you have a kid with the milk al-Yameen, that kid is exactly 100% like the kid that you had with the nikah marriage. Same kid, same rights, everything. Now, anyone who ever doesn't understand this or has a problem with this system, just understand that person is behaving like the Yahud, like the Jews. Our Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was married to Sarah alayhi salam, and Hajra alayhi salam was not his wife. Hajra alayhi salam was his milk al-Yameen. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the generation one after the other. He's coming out from Hajra alayhi salam, Ismail alayhi salam. Whereas from Ismail alayhi salam, right? And Ishaq alayhi salam is from Sarah alayhi salam, the wife. And the Jews rejected the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam because he's coming from milk al-Yameen. Like in their mind, if he's a prophet, he should come from the better version. A'udhu billah. There's no distinction in our religion when you have kids from both. The rights of a girl escalate the moment she becomes a mother. Walad. She's called Walad the moment you have milk al-Yameen. Now, today you cannot have a milk al-Yameen. You don't have Islamic Khilafah. You understand? If a Pakistani army goes and attacks somebody, that is not at all Islamic army. Completely, it's gone now. So we don't have Ubudiyya now. Understand, slavery in Islam, the word slavery is horrible here. In our religion, slavery was not a bad thing. Do you know we are more of slaves to our companies today than the slaves were to their masters in the time of Makkah, Medina? If you are working for a hospital, I'm working for a company, I can't just go and see my mom and dad when I want to. I have 2 weeks, after working for so many years, I'm going to be cut my salary and everything. I can't just leave. And here it's even better. If you go to the Middle East, you are completely bonded, right? Slaves were free to give their opinions, to go out, to literally ask for their freedom. I'll give you one example. Umm Salamah, again, our mother. She had a slave. The slave, and this is when the Prophet has died, passed away. Umm Salamah, in her older age, now remember, when you have a slave, there's no hijab with the slave. This is the fiqh of having a slave. We don't have slaves now, that's fine. But if you had a slave, so the slave asked for his freedom. And yes, you can say whatever price you want. He earns that, he pays it, okay, I'm leaving now, done. So he applied for it, which is basically grant me my release of my visa. Okay, she said fine. As soon as he got this money, he got the money, he gave it to Umm Salamah radiallahu anha. Umm Salamah says, okay, now I can't see you anymore. Because now you are a free man. And free man, there's hijab. The slave cannot believe, he says, what? He did not know this ruling. He did not know that you can't see your mother anymore. This is our mother. Can you believe if your mother right now says this to you? Okay, from now on, now that you have a job, we can no longer see each other. That's a part of your contract. Can you imagine this if you find this out right now? He says, oh my mother, what are you saying? He says, yes, that's what the Rasul said. Once you have paid the price for your freedom, you're gone. The slave cannot believe he is no longer going to be a slave. He wishes to be a slave. So he starts crumbling in tears. He says, what are you saying, my mother? I want to be with you. I don't want this money. Take the money back. I want to be with you. I don't want the money. This is a slave. She says, no. The Prophet said, when you have the money and you have taken the freedom, you have to go. You can't just stay just for this sake. You can't hack the system. And so he had to be freed. And he was freed. And he gone. Now he has to talk to his own mother behind the curtain. I'm seeing the love that the slave had for the masters was this. Mamluk. We were having Mamluk Khilafah. These were slaves, sons of milk al-Yameen. At one point, some Christians attacked. The Muslims then had prisoners of war. These women, they were told to go back. The Christians don't want to take them. Do what you want with them. They were just for our enjoyment. Okay, now these women, how do they eat, sleep, drink, go to bathroom, whatever? Okay, you basically, this is the way Islam is given to distribute the women to the society. Everybody is responsible for them. And your kids, those are your kids. So you will have the love for the mother like your kids. You see, for nikah, you have to have money. You have to give mahr. For this, you don't have to do mahr. You can, the fact that you're taking care of her is good. You understand? So, Safiya radiallahu anha, our mother, she was actually taken as a milk al-Yameen after Khaybar. The Prophet ﷺ then gave her freedom by giving her mahr. That is your freedom. Take the money and now you're free. Out of the freedom, I'll marry you. Now you're a nikah wife. Same thing. I mean, and one of the ladies that the Prophet ﷺ had, Rayhana bint Shab'un. Remember Banu Qurayza, we did Ahzab? Rayhana bint Shab'un, she was a milk al-Yameen of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ asked her to become Muslim. She's not even a Muslim. And she said, no, I'm happy to be a Jew. And the Jews are very hard to convert. Now, it's allowed for us to have a lady who is a Muslim, a Jew, or a Christian. This is common knowledge. This is in the Quran, Surah Ma'idah. Okay. So she said, I'm happy being a Jew. This really hurt the Prophet because he thought all the things he has done and everything, and she still is not. Then after a couple of weeks, somebody comes in with the good news, and the Prophet says, this is so-and-so coming to tell me the good news that Rayhan has become Muslim. And when they came in, they said, yes, Rayhan has become Muslim. But out of happiness now, the Prophet was saying, okay, I'll free you and I'll marry you. She says, I'm happy to be a al-Yameen. Now imagine, she had the chance to be our mother. She chose to remain al-Yameen. This is the treatment of al-Yameen. You get the point? Now, everything you see in front of you here, completely. You know, the word slave, it's like it's a bad word, it's a cuss word today. You know, he's my slave. Like, oh my God, your religion allows slavery? Yeah, it's basically, does your religion allow work contracts? Yes, it allows work contracts. Work contract is slavery in our religion. But here, slavery means Africa, basically, Wild Wild West. That's why we think of slavery, so it looks bad. Same way, al-Yameen, it's a beautiful thing. We are supposed, right now, when Bosnian genocide was happening, right now, may Allah protect us again. You know, 1992, when we were growing up, all we saw was the Bosnian genocide. The Muslims were being killed. You know, my own wife, she's convert, right, from Chinese to, she's a Muslim now. She said, I've never seen a white Muslim until I showed her Bosnian, Serbian, Croatian, Kosovan Muslims, white Muslims. I said, because they're all buried, they're all dead. People, unfortunately, in the Arab world and in the India-Pakistan world, they just think Islam is somehow culturally here. And if you see somebody in Norway, he must be a convert. No, they were actual Muslims growing up as Muslims. I actually have a video of a lady in Bosnia, blue-eyed, blonde-haired, little girl reciting Ayatul Kursi. What I'm saying is there were lots of Muslims who were white, all killed. Crusaders killed them. And now they were killed in 1992. You know what happened, right? Pakistan often flaunts the fact that they sent 4 fighter jets. 4 fighter jets. You know, it's like, you know, when we have a party here, we have a party here, everybody's cleaning. I see you guys always cleaning and everything. Imagine then one guy comes in the end, when everything is done clean, and he takes this and he throws this in the trash. He says, I also participated in the cleaning. That's what Pakistan did. This is what Pakistan did. They sent 4 fighter jets when everybody's done. And so they take the credit. Anyway, the point I'm making is, United States literally waited for the genocide to go on to the extreme levels before they decided to intervene, so now they can give independence to the separate unit and install their puppet government in there. What I'm telling you is, Muslims in these parts of the world, right now, you know, and you saw the news 2 weeks ago, in Hungary, they literally they're at the border of Poland, they literally gave them box cutters, and they gave it to the Muslim refugees, say, take this, cut the wire of the border and go past it. You know what's going to happen as soon as they get past? They get shot by the others. But it's not our problem. You're going to die there in their land. This is happening to our Muslim sisters. You can see on video the girl giving breast milk to her baby. And they're giving her bolt cutters. Go and die there, not here. Don't die in our land. What do you do if you don't have multiple wife option? The idea that more than one wife is a bad thing, A'udhu Billah, this is the new invention here. Everybody wants more than one girl. Nobody wants more than one wife. You get what I mean? Everybody wants a girlfriend. Everybody is banned. In Canada, it is illegal for you to have more than one wife. But if I say, no, she's not my wife, I haven't signed no papers. Okay, that's fine. All you have to do is do this. So, astaghfirullah, they have lost their plot. He can do anything he wants on my wedding night and nothing that I can do. What is the girl gonna do? She goes to the cop. My husband is with somebody else on my own wedding night in my bed. What are you gonna do? There's no law. He said, why are you wasting my time? It's not my business. At least even now, even though we have disintegrated in the Middle East, still in Dubai, a girl can go to the cops and say, I do not allow my husband to sit and have a cup of coffee with that girl, but he's doing that right now. The cops will arrest you. You have signed a contract with this girl. You can't just go out and have coffee with somebody else willy-nilly without her permission. At least you still have this law. So the girl has some rights. You see, more than one marriage is for the ladies in Bosnia. If I have $1 million and my wife has everything she ever needs, and I have an extra million sitting for nothing, it is incumbent upon me to have another wife and take care of her in Palestine and everything. I just told you about the machine guns, right? Automatic machine guns. How can you have an extra 5 million and not think you give $1 million to another girl who can benefit from? If you save one life, you've saved the humanity, according to the Quran. That was the purpose of more than one wife, and al-Yameen is like this. So anyway, so al-Yameen, the Prophet ﷺ had al-Yameen, he had everybody. Umm Salamah, I'll just finish with her. You know how, I'll just tell you the story, we're done. Umm Salamah was married to Abu Salamah before she married the Rasulullah ﷺ. Abu Salamah is a great Sahabi. He was shaheed because of the damage that happened to him at Uhud. He was injured at Uhud. Many Muslims have been shaheed in Uhud. He was shaheed in Uhud, and a couple of days after that, he eventually has blood loss and he passes away. When he's about to pass away, Umm Salamah loved Abu Salamah, and the Prophet loved Abu Salamah. He used to check on him and everything. He loved Abu Salamah radiallahu anhu. And they were the couple that had gone to Habasha, Africa. In the first hijrah, they had gone there. And the story is unbelievable because Abu Salamah, he was a Qurayshi. And Umm Salamah is Banu Makhzum. She's from Abu Jahl's tribe. She is the elite of the Quraysh. When they were trying to leave, they stopped her. Like they literally, she had her son, Salama, Abu Salamah, Umm Salamah, Salama. And he was a baby, like literally this is one of the baby. And they're like, let go of him, we're going to take him and you can't leave and everything. And so the Quraysh then comes and says, if you have lost your mind, that's okay. But this girl is ours, Qurayshi. We're not going to let her go. You can leave. So he goes to Medina without his wife and son, Abu Salamah radiallahu anhu. Umm Salamah radiallahu anhu at least has her baby right now with her, right? When Abu Salamah arrives and his tribe finds out what? They took your baby and they took your wife, we're going to take revenge. Complete jahiliyyah going on. We're going to take revenge. They go to Makkah, they said, listen, if you want to keep Umm Salamah, the lady, okay. But the son is ours. Why? Because he's the father's son, lineage. So they literally take the son back. And Umm Salamah is fighting for her son. She's like, no, I'm not going to let go of my son. The son's shoulder is being pulled on both sides to the point where the shoulder gets dislocated. Can you imagine the pain of our mother, Umm Salamah, looking at her son? And so she lets go. And he was crying and he's gone. Umm Salamah had lost it. You can't imagine separating a mother from a child. There's no bigger pain I can think of. She's standing at the foothills of Makkah, like at the end of outskirt of Makkah, standing and hoping to see somehow I can get to Medina. How do I get to Medina? Medina is so far away. Somehow she's hoping, somehow I can get there. How do I get there? Her situation is so bad, she cries every day. It's so sad when her cousin sees her situation. Even though he's a pagan, he can't bear to see his cousin's sadness, and he just says, come on man, let her go. I mean, look, she's so in pain, missing her child, missing her husband, let her go. So they said, okay, do what you want. If you want to go, you can go. But how is she going to go now? No food, no water, nothing. And this is the love of a mother. She decides to walk to Medina without any help, nothing. No food, no water, no camel. Just for the sake, let me just get to my husband and my son. And while she's walking, it just so happens another, at that time pagan, eventually he'll be a Sahabi, Uthman ibn Talha, the one who gets the keys of the Kaaba eventually. Up until today, his family has the keys of the Kaaba. This is Uthman ibn Talha who will be rewarded so many years later for the good deed he's going to do now. He sees Umm Salamah, elite of the Quraysh. He says, what are you doing alone in the desert? He says, this is what happened, and I'm going back to my son before they change their mind. I have to get there. He says, well, I cannot allow this. A lady walking in the desert by herself. Come with me. And so he puts her on his camel and he's walking, not even looking at her. And he drops her to Medina, which takes probably 2 weeks. And then for him to come back for no payment, even though he could have literally done whatever he wanted. Astaghfirullah, you know what I mean? He did not do anything and he just let her be and he came back. This good deed done by a non-Muslim, Allah will not let it go to waste. Allah eventually guided him and he became the Muslim. In fact, when the keys of the Kaaba are there, one day we'll do inshallah Fatah Makkah, conquest of Makkah. The Prophet was standing, they're all at the Kaaba. Ali radiallahu anhu suggests, Ya Rasulullah, why don't you just assign Banu Hashim, which is us, the keys of the Kaaba? Finished. No more fights. Banu Hashim, because everybody will agree with the Prophet having the keys of the Kaaba. Nobody will disagree. And the Prophet listens to Ali, but he does not say anything to Ali, the Ali. He says, where is Uthman ibn Talha? Call him for me. Uthman ibn Talha gets literally the greatest of the Nobel Prizes you can imagine. Here are the keys for the Kaaba, this will be yours. Anyone who takes it away from you is a zalim, is an oppressor. And up until today, even the king of Saudi Arabia has to take permission of Uthman Talha's next of kin to be able to open the gates of the Kaaba, to be able to wash it. Okay, Salamah, she married Abu Salamah. Okay, now, when Abu Salamah is about to pass away, Abu Salamah is lying down on his deathbed, and he knows he's going to pass away. He says to Salamah, his wife, let's do a dua, that if I pass away, I want you to marry somebody better than me. And if you pass away, I'm going to marry someone better than you. Let's do this dua. Now, who's going to die? He's the one who's going to pass away. He's just trying to he's trying to politely say, I want you to marry after I die. He's trying to give this. And by the way, for us, we'll be doing the opposite. Oh, you want to marry somebody else after I die? Like, astaghfirullah. If you truly love her, try to find the best for her when you die. That's what you should do if you truly love her. Anyway, I have heard of this dua. The Prophet said, whenever you're in musibah, and remember this dua, guys. Whenever you're in musibah, say, Ya Allah, give me a reward better than this for me facing this musibah. I'm paraphrasing it. whenever you have any bad news, any musibah, remember this. And the Prophet said this. Whoever says this as the first thing he says, not, oh God, oh my God, oh shucks, none of this. If you say this first, Allah has promised to give you a reward better than what you have lost. So somebody just says, oh my God, you've been fired from work. The first thing to say, Ya Allah, give me something better for the musibah that you just gave me. Inshallah, you are guaranteed to get something better. Now, Umm Salamah is doing the dua, and she says later, I was doing the dua, but while I was doing the dua, I'm thinking, who is better than Abu Salamah? That's the ranking she has of her husband in her mind. Yes, I'm doing dua, Ya Allah, give me someone better than Abu Salamah, but who is better than Abu Salamah? Nobody. But she still does the dua. She doesn't know that Rasul is going to marry eventually. Who is better? Rasul is better. So, Umm Salamah does the dua, he eventually passes away and everything. When of course she must be beautiful and everything, our mother. And she was very balanced, and everybody wants to have a balanced wife and everything. And she's Banu Makhzum, the elite of the Quraysh, and at that time lineage used to be something they used to prize. She gets proposals left, right and center from everybody. Guess who proposes to her? Umar radiallahu anhu. The Umar. And she rejects. She rejects Umar. Umar radiallahu anhu, literally the best friend of the Rasul after Abu Bakr Siddiq, was not good enough for her. Guess who proposes to her next? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. And she rejects Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr is not good enough for her. Eventually, the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself proposes through an emissary to Umm Salamah. And guess what? Even the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she does not say yes. She does not say no. She does not say yes. She says, Ya Rasulullah, I have 3 conditions. Now, I want to pause here for a second and understand. This is the rights of a girl. And in Pakistan, Imam Sahib ki beti, teri ye jurrat, itne bade imam ko mana karna. A'udhu billah. You understand this, right? This is the Rasulullah, Imam of all the Imams. She has all the right to say no, or she can say, I have conditions. Okay. The first condition, Ya Rasulullah, I'm a jealous woman. I'm a woman with ghira. And he has more wives already. So this is one of the issues that I have. Just realize this. Second, Ya Rasulullah, I have kids of my own. By the way, the Rasul is going to be a stepfather to these kids. One of the kids was Umar. We eat with the right hand and everything. Thanks to the hadith of Umar, the son of Umm Salamah, who the Prophet said, eat with your right hand. And that's why we eat with the right hand. It is Umm Salamah's son that the Prophet is telling. Okay, I have kids and everything, and the rights of the rights of kids and everything, I'm quite busy with this. So, as a mother, I have kids and everything. How am I going to be able to serve you while I also have to worry about my kids? So she's worried about her kids. And she has ghira, positive jealousy. And Ya Rasulullah, I am not a young girl. I mean, you have Aisha, Hafsa, you have younger wives. And I'm middle-aged. And so, I have these 3 things to say. The Prophet sends a message and says, as for your ghira, I will do dua to Allah, and inshallah Allah will remove this from you, this jealousy. As for your kids, when we marry, then your kids are going to be my kids. So remember, if you ever marry somebody who already has a baby, that's your baby. Of course, biologically it's somebody else's baby. But you have to give him the rights. If you take out your biological son to McDonald's when he wants to, and he says, I also want to go to McDonald's, so you say maybe tomorrow, or you just decide to give him dal chawal. You understand this? Absolutely 100% the same. Your kids are my kids. Okay. So, as for your kids are going to be my kids. And then the Prophet jokes, he says, as for your third issue, age, then the same disease that you're suffering from is the disease that I'm suffering from. I too have aged. So, such a beautiful reply to all the 3 conditions. He's like, what is the issue? Everything is fine. Your kids are my kids, and I'll do dua for you. You're getting dua of the Rasulullah. And I'm the same age as you, so why are you worried about being middle-aged? I'm literally older than you. And so she then accepts Rasulullah and she gets married to Rasulullah. That is the story of our mother. She gets married to Umm Salamah. And one last thing I'll tell you again, because today is relevant, we had this discussion. Umm Salamah is now, California and all these people, they raise her story to show her as the feminist. She was the first feminist of that era. Why? I'll tell you. She, of all the wives, was the only one who said, Ya Rasulullah, Allah talks a lot about the men. The men will get this and the men will get that. In Quranic Arabic, it is men get this and men get that, the men. Remember in Hudaybiyah, the clause was, you cannot take the man back. And when Uqba ibn Mu'ayth's daughter came The Prophet said, well, we cannot take a man back. This is a lady. We will not take her back. We will not send her back, right? They literally went by the men. So Allah, in Arabic, normally you say men. That means if I say, guys, be quiet, I'm talking about this beautiful girl. I'm talking about that lady sitting in the back. I'm talking about everybody. I don't mean just the guys or the male gender. I'm saying everybody. So in Arabic, it's not odd, but she's saying, despite being Qurayshi, she's saying, Ya Rasulullah, Allah says a lot about men. What about the women? What about them? So Allah reveals in the Quran in two different places, Surah Ahzab and Surah Fatah, I believe. وَالْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْمُهَاجِرَاتِ The righteous men and the righteous women, the fasting men and the fasting women, the praying men and the praying. Allah said literally muhajirin and muhajirat. What Allah is saying is, of course, the both are included. But because she specifically asked, what about the women? Allah then specifically reveals in both genders. Otherwise, generally, colloquially, linguistically, it doesn't sound normal to speak. If I say, you are invited, and your wife is invited, and your daughter is invited, and your son is invited, I'm just saying, you guys are invited. Guys means male, but I mean all of it. But because you have a specific wife who says, what about me? He did not invite me. Okay, you are invited, and your wife, please, specifically is invited. Only then am I going to do this. So Allah is literally answering Umm Salamah in the surah. He says both, male and female, male and female, male and female, Allah. And she has asked some of the other questions. I'll give you one last thing, then we go. She said, Ya Rasulullah, we women, we already don't have a lot of sources of income. We are not allowed to do jihad as a lady. And we only get half the property as an inheritance. You can understand why the people want to call her a feminist. Anyway. And now realize, from her perspective, she's right. She gets half the property as a girl. Now realize the girl gets half because it's all her money. I just talked about this. The guy has to spend on everything. So like, let's say if your father passes away, he has $150,000. The girl gets $50,000. You get $100,000. But out of that $100,000, you might have to spend $90,000 on your kids and family and everything. So you get $10,000 for your laptop or PlayStation. The girl gets all 50. So she's more financially secure, Islamically. So she says, already we get half, and we're not allowed to do jihad. So we have no source of income. The Sahaba would not get salaries in that time. They would literally just the war and the ghanima of the war, that is the armor and the booty and the horses, that's all you do business with, right? So what she's saying is, we don't have source of income. It's not our fault that we are women. We can do jihad, and we're getting half the inheritance. So how is it fair? She didn't say that, but that's what she's trying to say. And on the other hand, imagine this. The Rasul is getting the complaints from the Sahabi, male. He said, Ya Rasulullah, why should the women even get half when they're not even fighting? They're not participating in the war, they're just sitting there, taking care of the kids and everything. But they get half for nothing. Pause here and realize you can take any argument and spin any argument for anything's favor. If Allah would not have guided us, what the answer is going to be for this? Both of them have a good argument. That's why we need the Quran, we need guidance from Allah to tell us who's right. To this, Allah reveals and says, do not compare one against each other. I'm paraphrasing. To him, Allah has given some things over you, and to her, Allah has given some things over them. Don't start doing this. Oh, I'm only getting half, and you're not allowed to do this. And he's like, well, why are you even getting half? You're doing nothing except for taking care of your kids. You get half of the money of the war when we spilled our blood. Don't do this. Allah has already decreed this is what she's going to get, and you have to participate and be her, stand up for her. Qawwam. You have to stand up for the lady. Done. Now, don't say to the girl, oh, we are the ones who are doing everything. No. You understand? But Umm Salamah is raising these points, is what I'm trying to say. Today, if a girl in Pakistan and India raises this point, they're going to say, oh, how dare you, Western philosopher. Well, this is Umm Salamah who's asking this. There's no problem in the girl asking, but then once you get the answer, this is what you say. Sami'na wa ta'ana. This is what Allah revealed. Asma bint Umais, one of the great Sahabiyya, not our mother, she's a Sahabiyya. She married, I don't know if you know this, she's very famous because she married three of the great Sahabis. She married Ja'far radiallahu anh, Ali radiallahu anhu's big brother. Then she married, when he died, when he was Shaheed, she married Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and she had kids with him as well. And then when Abu Siddiq passed away in his Khilafah, then she married Ali radiallahu anh, the brother of Ja'far radiallahu anh, right? And so she married the great three Sahabi. In fact, once they were sitting in the kitchen, and Ja'far radiallahu anhu's son, Muhammad ibn Ja'far, and Abu Bakr Siddiq's son, they were having an argument, fighting, kids fighting in the kitchen. And Ali radiallahu anh is the stepfather. There he's sitting. And they're saying, my father is the best. He says, no, my father is the best. He said, my father is the best friend of Rasulullah. Ja'far radiallahu anh was literally the best friend of Rasulullah. Like, in the older days. And Abu Bakr Siddiq is the Medina. We know who Abu Bakr Siddiq is. So she's saying, my father was the best. So Asma bint Umais walks in. So he's saying, Mom, you decide. Whose father was the best? So she says, your father, that is Abu Bakr Siddiq, was the greatest of the older ones. And your father was the greatest of the younger ones. So Ali is sitting there saying, and where do I stand? I'm literally your husband and you didn't even mention me anywhere. Like anyway, that was a joke. So Asma bint Umais, when she came from Habasha, from Africa, Habasha, and she arrived in Medina, Umar radiallahu anhu knew her from the Makki period. Asma bint Umais, right now she's married to Ja'far radiallahu anhu. And Umar radiallahu anhu was looking at his daughter Hafsa, the wife of the Rasulullah. And she says, who is this friend of yours? He says, Asma. He says, Asma who? Asma bint Umais. The Habashiyya? The one from Africa? That one? He said, yes. And look at what Umar radiallahu anhu is saying. You guys had it easy. Now he's taunting her and everything. And this is, by the way, this shows that men and women conversation is going on. You see this? There's none of this separation and all of this. Again, you can have this, but with reasonable bounds. He says, you guys had it easy. You guys had it easy. What is he saying? We have done Badr, Uhud, Azab, and now after Khaybar, you guys have come. When we have all the money. You guys just came straight to the wealth of Saudi Arabia. Now you're getting the passport when Saudi is rich. You did not see Saudi when it was just a desert. You see what I'm trying to say? So he said, you guys had it easy. Asma bint Umais is furious, like Umar radiallahu anhu style, furious. She's so angry. She says, La, wallahi, you people are the one who at least had the Rasulullah in your presence. Can you imagine if let's say you cannot, astaghfirullah, may Allah protect us all, but your son is having a surgery. You have no access to see your son. They're operating on him for 3 days. But your wife, for some reason, has access. Right? One person allowed, COVID time. And for 3 days, you have no idea. Is he coughing up blood or what's going on? You have no idea except you can just do dua. And your wife was there in the thick and thin and she has seen the pain and everything. Yes, she has been through a lot. Can you imagine if after 3 days you come and you say, finally see your son and he's fine? And the wife is saying to you, you had it easy, you were just chilling outside. Astaghfirullah. Do you have any idea what I've been through? Whereas if this guy says, you had it easy, you had access to him. She'll say, are you crazy? I've seen him cough up blood. I've seen him in pain. I've seen him withering in pain. You don't know what you missed. Both are right. Astaghfirullah, don't do this comparison. You get it? Okay. Umar radiallahu anhu is saying this. How is she going to feel? She's infuriated. She says, La, wallahi, at least you had the Rasulullah with the presence. You were able to touch him. You were able to feel him. The idea of being able to touch the Rasulullah, getting his salam. Sa'ad and Mu'adha once, the Prophet went to his house just to say hello. He says, Assalamu alaikum ya Sa'ad. And Sa'ad is like, wow, I'm getting a salam, dua from the Rasulullah. He's like, wow, let me wait for another one. Because you can say 3 salams. So he's just quiet. He's just enjoying it. Prophet says, Assalamu alaikum ya Sa'ad, outside the door. He's like, wow, second one. He says, Assalamu alaikum ya Sa'ad. He's just enjoying, wow, I'm getting salam. After 3 times, you're not supposed to say salam. So the Prophet starts walking back. And then then realizes, oh my God, I think the Prophet is leaving. Oh my God, then he rushes out immediately, rushes back to the Rasul. He says, wa alaikum assalam ya Rasulullah. He says, ya Sa'ad, did you not hear me? I said salam thrice. He says, I know, I heard you the first time, ya Rasulullah, but I was so happy you're giving me dua, you gave me salam, so I just wanted more and more. So many incidents like this. Bilal radiallahu anhu, when the Prophet doesn't come, then holds him from behind, literally. And Bilal is like, Ali? Umar? No. Abu Bakr? So the Rasul then uncovers and he walks in front and says, yeah Bilal, did you not know it was me? Like, the fragrance of the Rasulullah and everything. He says, Ya Rasulullah, of course, the moment you touched my eyes, I knew it was you. I just wanted you to continue holding me for longer. You see the love? Okay. Asma bint Umais is saying, you had all of this access. And you're telling that we had it easy? She said, Wallahi, I will not eat or drink until I get to hear from the Rasulullah himself if we had it easy or not. She goes to the Rasulullah, the Prophet says, is that what Umar said? Listen to what the Prophet says. Tell him, you have the ajr of 2 hijras. He has the ajr of 1. You did 2 hijras, from Africa and to Medina, and he did 1. This was the news, like the greatest good news you can imagine. She was so happy that day, and then she goes back and she tells it to everybody. Everyone who had been to Africa, when they hear this news, all day, that day, they kept going to Asma bint Umays' house and kept saying, tell me what the Prophet said about us. Tell me what the Prophet... All day she was telling the good news that she is hijratain, the one with 2 hijras, versus 1. But anyway, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.